Ready, set, showtime.
pause the video as normal as I go through everything to see every change I made. So I realized in my previous video I wasn't using the chill out mask, and after I finally realized that the chill out mask is also a Gilligard piece, I'm like, wait a minute. That's perfect for this guy, and it would allow me to actually still stack the same amount of protection from elites, but instead of using Bellstone piece for the 1% armor regen, I can use Golden Guard for the 1.5, plus the 10% status effect for what that's worth, which is hardly anything. But he does inflict bleed with his crossbow and burn with his grenades, so that's pretty good. Although on that note, I think if you bring this build into Countdown, you may be able to improve it even further by using Iron Lung instead of Sweet Dream Shotgun just for Countdown, because there's so many elites in Countdown, Challenger, and especially Heroic. Like, there's hardly any red and purple enemies that ever spawn in Countdown, and then there's literally no red and purple enemies that spawn during Extraction, which is the hardest part of Countdown, and it's literally nothing but elites in Extraction. There's never a red or purple enemy. So, which is also why I have to emphasize this build. Like, this build is much better than my Foundry Catharsis build. It's better than him even for a legendary soloing here, as you see. Like, I'm not struggling as much. I also can do the third area of Man and Zoo, well, more easily, but it's still really, really hard. Like, I still haven't been able to clear it first, because it's just the terrain, man. The terrain is just awful. Like, you just feel stuck in place as you're moving around it because of how awful it is, because you have to constantly scale things, and this game deliberately makes the player super vulnerable every time you scale anything. Every time you jump over a ledge, every time you get on top of something, there's a whole animation during it where all the enemy AI can just be pinpoint killing you the entire time you're doing it. It's just, and the third area of Man and Zoo is just the absolute worst because of how much of that is in that area. But he still lasts way longer than when I did on my Foundry, and he probably could do it eventually if I had enough patience. In fact, he probably could do the entire Manning mission, especially when I max his expertise later on. And I'm still missing a little bit of repair skill, if you saw my gloves, so my gear's not fully optimized yet either. But I mean, that's obviously a very minor thing. The big thing is getting his expertise all maxed out later on. And remember, compared to my Foundry videos, my Foundry dude also had 8% expertise on all of his gear, which this guy doesn't, and he's already outperforming the Foundry guy. So, yeah, it's definitely, I mean, I will say the only big loss is that my shield is definitely feels less tanky than the Foundry one. But the way I play this guy, I mean, the fact he feels even tankier means I don't have to use my shield even as much. Like, I don't have to use my shield as much as on my Foundry dude. And so that, with Vanguard and Reformation Talent on my pistol still, is still often enough even on Legendary to maintain my shield health, while just either not using my shield at all or just dodging around the field, which is what I'll do when there's red and purples around. And then once it's only elites, well, then I pretty much never have to use my shield, except against, like, bosses that still do so much damage that you still have to. But even then, I don't have to keep my shield out the whole time, even against them, because of just how much protection from elites and regen I have. And Adrenaline Rush, by the way, is just, I said it before, it is one of the best talents ever that I learned, because, again, I thought initially if you go into the radius of an enemy and you lose that bonus armor, you don't get it back until you, like, go in and out of the radius, which can effectively mean you never get that bonus armor off certain enemies again. That's how I thought it worked, and even if it worked that way, it still would be a good talent. I just didn't think it was OP because I thought that's how it worked. But no, as I said in the last video, every 5 seconds it gives you back that armor period, which means it acts as almost armor regen. And even better, which I forgot to also mention, if you gain the bonus armor by going into the 10-meter radius, but then you go out, you still have the bonus armor because it still lasts the full 5 seconds. And obviously, after the 5 seconds are up, it starts over again immediately, which is why you effectively have it on forever. But then, if enemies take it off you, Well, every 5 seconds you get it back again, as long as you're within that 10-meter radius of any enemy. That stacks 3 times, and it basically is armor regen. Like, it's even more armor regen, and like it's even better than that though, because it's bonus armor. So when it's activating, my armor regen is regenning. It makes my armor regen even better if you think about it. Because let's say my actual armor, my base armor, takes like half damage, but then Adrenaline Rush activates during that time. That means my regen, my base regen, my fixer drone regen, healing my armor, it's still activating with Adrenaline Rush over it. But now the Adrenaline Rush buff is preventing my base armor from being damaged. So my base armor that's regaining health is able to regain faster, basically, because it's no longer taking damage until the buffs from Adrenaline Rush are taken off me again. So it's so OP, actually. I would say Adrenaline Rush alone is almost worth the entire trade of Foundry. But then you have to also factor in, it's not just that, of course. I have Vanguard too. Perfect Vanguard, as I also made the change of realizing I didn't have Point Man in my previous video, and then I realized on this build, wait, why am I not using Point Man? That's yet another 5%. I mean, it doesn't help me anymore. But still, it makes him even better team support. Give my teammates even more armor. So yeah, let's use Perfect Vanguard if I'm gonna use Gilligard. So put that on too. But again, as I've said before, the Vanguard actually helps me too, because it really helps. Like, it helps maintain my shield, basically. The best part is, like, because I'm so tanky, as you see, even on Legendary soloing, I don't have to use my shield constantly, which just makes Vanguard even better at keeping it, up. Because a lot of times when I flip out to it again, it's right when the Vanguard's ready to go again and ready to be invincible for a few seconds. So it works so perfectly with the synergy of this build, actually, of being a super tank armor-wise, too, so I don't have to use my shield constantly. So yeah, that's again why I also use Survivalist and not Technician with Artificer Hive. So yeah, Vanguard, and so if I went Foundry Catharsis again, I wouldn't have Adrenaline Rush. That alone is almost equal to all of that in my view. But then I wouldn't have Perfect Vanguard. So not having those two talents combined is already, not as good. Like, that already makes it better than Foundry, kind of, in my view. But the big thing is that, yes, I would lose a ton of regen, actually. I would gain the Foundry regen, yes, but that's only when you take damage. It's not always consistent. The amount you heal is not consistent. Like, I would always prefer, like, increasing base armor regen that you can always rely on. And fixer drone healing, because your fixer drone, it's not as good as base armor regen, but it's close because you almost always have it out. And so I was able to massively increase both on this build. Like, I lost the Foundry 1% armor regen, but then I gained another 0.5% with Golem Guard, and then I gained the 2% from Gilligard. And if you don't know, like, the percentage-based armor regen in this game is, like, the best out of everything. Because it's percentage-based, that means it increases the more your armor increases. And that's the other thing. Now when I increase the expertise on my armor on this guy, it actually, it's like buffing his durability more than my Foundry guy too. Because I have, substantially more percentage-based armor regen. The blue armor regen cores do not keep increasing the more armor you have. Like, how much armor you have will not affect how much the blue armor regen cores give you, because it's just it's a number, it's a raw amount. But anything that says it does a percentage-based amount of your healing does get better. Although now that I think about it, that applies to Catharsis too. So yeah, increasing your Foundry with Catharsis would help it. But still, I always prefer base armor regen, because Catharsis is cool and sometimes useful, but also, again, inconsistent, whereas base armor regen is just always and forever reliable for you. So yeah, like, increasing my expertise in the future will also increase my armor regen substantially too with it. And that's the other best thing about this kind of build. So yeah, a ton more base armor regen and a ton more fixer drone healing. That two combo alone kind of accounts for Foundry and Catharsis in my view. But then he gets Adrenaline Rush, one of the best talents I've learned for tanks. And then also Vanguard, which is also, like, or perfect Vanguard, which is one of the best team buff talents. And it is the best in the game. And that's the last thing. I have to mention for Countdown, this guy is in a whole other league than my Foundry guy. because Vanguard gives you bonus armor too in Countdown. It doesn't elsewhere, but for some reason in Countdown with 8-player teams, so I think, I haven't tested yet because I actually haven't done a raid, but I think it would also apply to raids too. But I know definitely for Countdown and 8-player teams on Countdown, Vanguard gives you armor too. You buff all 8 members every time you use Vanguard. So it's the best, easily the best team talent in the game for Countdown. And raids maybe too, if it actually accounts for raids. I don't know actually, but definitely Countdown. Like, it is the best talent. So I get even more bonus armor from my own Vanguard during Countdown. And again, almost every enemy at the end is an elite. So having even more protection from elites on this kind of regen build, I am literally pretty much, almost immortal during extraction. Definitely on challenge. It is a bit harder on heroic difficulty, but I just did one just to test it out. I mean, most people don't play on heroic for Countdown because it's not worth the time. Everybody always just farms on challenge difficulty for Countdown. But yeah, I'll sometimes do heroic just to test it out, as I did on this build. And yeah, he was able to skip it. He was able to stay in the front of his team, get to extraction, ignore, multiple hunters while just going straight into the zone, and just, I just alternate between deploying my shield when my skills are ready and then just dodging around the field, basically. Just spamming the dodge button. And I literally could just survive the entire time. Even though I took multiple melee hits from hunters and on heroic. And if you don't know, a melee from a hunter is supposed to be like the most OP counter to a tank in the game, because it one-taps your armor no matter what. And indeed, it does for my Foundry guy. So my maxed out armor, 2.1 million armor Foundry dude with who also has like 60% protection from elites. When he would do Countdown, he'd still die sometimes because of the stupid melees from the hunter. Like, he could absorb the hunter's gun damage, but anytime you get close to them, and it's when you're playing a tank and extraction, there's multiple hunters at different angles, so when you rush ahead, it's really hard to avoid getting at least meleeed once by a hunter. And when they do, they take out your entire armor bar. I still think it's stupid, but it is what it is. But what I've learned is that it doesn't account for bonus armor. So if you have bonus armor on your dude, you will still have that. From what I've seen, it's actually inconsistent. It does one of two things. Either it takes out all of your base armor but leaves you with the bonus armor, or, which is even better if it does this, since usually, because my base armor is usually higher than my bonus armor, it takes out your bonus armor but doesn't take out your base armor. Either way, this guy is able to literally tank. He's literally able to absorb at least one, sometimes even two at the same time, melee hits from a hunter too. Like, it's just, what? So he can do that too, in addition to buffing his own armor from Vanguard. So yeah, this guy is easily one of the best. If you want to be a super tank that's also helpful in Countdown, this is the best guy to do it. He is the most invincible he can be in Countdown, and he helps his teammates a lot too. One, because he is the most invincible he can be. He can just charge ahead and draw as much aggro, especially from hunters, as he can during extraction. And then also he can buff his teammates a bunch too from perfect Vanguard as well, constantly going off. It's so good. So yeah, let me stop the video here. I don't want to go too long on this one, but yeah, this is, I don't know how to make this build better. I know there's already people claiming, oh, use Ninja Bike, but again, I don't want to do Ninja Bike because you would lose two things. One, the minor thing, but it's still worth noting, I would lose some armor regen because you can only have one attribute on your backpack. So that already on Ninja Bike backpack, you're only allowed one attribute. So that means I'm losing an armor regen and a repair skill buff, which repair skill is basically close to another armor regen buff. So basically almost two armor regen buffs, which is it's not a big deal, but it's also not tiny in my view for a regen build like this. So that's the first thing that I would take. I know the whole argument is you do it so that you can use maybe Bellstone with, so maybe go Ninja Bike Backpack, and I think, I haven't thought about it in depth, but I think maybe then you could do Gilligard, and actually, yeah, I think you could. You could do all three of the armor regen yellow pieces, Gilligard, Gullin, and Bellstone. So getting Bellstone to that 1% more armor regen would probably give you overall more regen than losing that blue armor regen core and that 20% repair skill. However, I have to emphasize, I've noticed it's additive too. Like the more you get, the less it gives you. So I actually don't think it would be that big of a deal. But also the big thing. So that's the minor thing to bring up as another thing to keep in mind. But then also the big thing is, obviously, you lose adrenaline rush outright. Like, I'm not going to lose that. Just, like, at that point, yes, I would rate Adrenaline Rush better than Bellstone. Like, that is a superior buff to a tank in this game than having 1% more armor regen from, like, Bellstone. If you were to just try and stack even more armor regen by using the Ninja Bike Backpack. So, no, I don't agree with that. So, and one last thing, I know a lot of versions of this build I've seen, especially from veteran players, they usually use Unbreakable instead of Vanguard on their armor, and then they also use Hazard Protection. Now you saw, I think, was it this video I just did? Because I actually did multiple ones, which is why you saw I had ammo for my signature weapon up, because I actually already ran it one time before. I was getting shocked, like multiple times, I think. But like, for the most part, like in those situations, it didn't make any difference at all. Like, I was totally fine. Now, in some situations, I may take a big chunk of damage while I'm getting ensnared or shocked, but I have almost never seen me die outright from that, though. Like, usually that might happen, but then I still survive and tank it well enough to be able to just get out of it and quickly dodge away, deploy my shield, and if I need to, actually try and hide and cover momentarily. But either way, like, I've never seen myself go down from that, which is why I don't want to use Hazard Protection. Like, I would rather just get even more armor regen by stacking, 5, having 100% repair skill, so it doubles the amount of armor regen. At that point, you get double the amount of armor regen from Fixer Drone. So yeah, I would see him do that, and then he'd also, for that reason, use Reviver Hive instead of Fixer Drone. And he tried to claim it was a little bit better team support. And maybe in missions and legendary missions here I could see that, although I still don't think it's that big of a deal, because the big thing, of course, is the stupid drone bomb spammers that could prevent you from reviving people quickly, which is why he used the Reviver Hive, not really for himself, but to revive others. But for me, I mean, I guess I'm just selfish. It's like, I want to make my own tank as tanky as possible, and that's why I still think Fixer Drone, which is almost always out, to stack even more regen. Like, I don't get as much regen as my percentage-based does from my Fixer Drone, but honestly, it's still a large chunk. It's not a small amount. Like, if you look at it, I have about 100k armor regen, base armor regen. That's with the percentage, as well as the blue armor regen core stacked up. My Fixer Drone, if you saw the number, it heals 40,000 armor. And then when I switch to my pistol and get a +1 skill tier, which is why I have that, by the way, it actually buffs it up to close to 47,000. Or no, 46, but I'm missing a few more repair skill. So once you get that last 5% repair skill, it'll probably be 40,000 exactly, and like close to 47,000 with the extra skill tier from my pistol, which is perfect, because when I switch to my shield, it's usually because my armor is taking a big hit. So that lets my Fixer Drone heal me even more when I get that extra skill tier on it. But even if you ignore the skill tier for a moment, 40,000 armor regen from the Fixer Drone, that is not a small amount. When 100,000 is like the base. Like again, it's not the primary means of my regen, but it is a good amount. However, also because it's not the primary means, sometimes I can justify not using it indeed. But that's why I like combining it with Survivalist and getting another 15% outgoing healing that applies to the Fixer Drone, because I will loan teammates my drone constantly, which is again why this guy is even better of a team support. Like, he has perfect Vanguard and the best build for Vanguard buffing his teammates, And then he uses Fixer Drone with a bunch of buffs on Fixer Drone too, and I can loan that to teammates. I can like get them up, give them my drone momentarily, and also because it does do a lot more regen, it'll get especially a DPS player back up to full armor relatively quickly, and then I just double tap my controller to get it back to make it fly back to me again. So I also like it because it kind of helps complements the team support too. And finally, like I use Survivalist because again, 10% protection from elites. I think it combines better with this kind of armor regen version. And also the incendiary grenades. Like the incendiary grenades are way better than the EMP ones in the technician tree, and they're so much more useful. Like they sometimes have even saved me because it might be solo and legendary. I get boxed in. I will just drop an incendiary grenade on my feet and be fine. That's also again why this is like the best. Like this is why this is again why this is the best tank for Countdown. Especially because the whole shield build technician one, you don't need that at all in Countdown specifically. But here, when I'm just, my armor is just super tanky and I have a bunch of protection from elites, that's the primary means of me staying alive. Not really my shield during Countdown. I mean, most of the time I just pop it just to activate the Vanguard for my teammates. And then I'm back to not using it during Countdown. But also the incendiary grenades, like that makes me even more useful because I can just pop those all over the place, save my incendiary grenades, save them all for extraction, pop a bunch of them at the beginning, and just have a bunch of enemies, especially because incendiary grenades, that fire stays on the ground for like 10 seconds or something like that. So it also has aerial denial for a while. And then, of course, once the helicopters come in at the end and start dropping enemies in the same spot, you just drop an incendiary grenade at their feet, and you light the entire, reinforcements on fire. So it's perfect, man. Again, while also in Countdown, you may want to switch to Iron Lung instead of Sweet Dreams, just so you can activate more fire on more enemies and be even more of a greater, you could say, team utility too. Like, I would recommend doing that. I just don't because I've maxed the expertise, at least to the extent I can do it on my guns, and I just do max damage at this point. Anyway, let me stop talking. I had to talk a lot though because this was a big change, and also this is the best. This is kind of the best build I think I've made so far for a tank, especially in this game. And I definitely at this point feel like a true super tank. And also Sweet Dream Shotgun, it is entirely necessary. Besides Countdown, but everywhere else. Always use Sweet Dreams in my view. I actually tried to do the Iron Lung version of this build, use Iron Lung instead, and went to this same mission on Legendary. And I mean, I could do it, but it was suddenly way harder. And I got very close to dying and could probably die outright. In fact, I think I did try it one time doing it with Iron Lung. Because I just can't kill the reds and purples quick enough that are doing so much damage to me, because I can't get out of my shield quick enough to use like a better gun than my pistol to take them out. But then Sweet Dreams is so perfect because I can just simply switch to it quickly while dodging out of my shield and melee them and they're dead. And then I can just concentrate on the red and purple enemies until there's only elites left. By the way, one last thing, if you noticed in this video, I was literally letting the elite shotgunner stay alive for the most part towards the end. Again, because I'm concentrating on the red and purples, but also because since they follow you and they always stay in close range, they were actually helping me. That's what's so hilarious, is the shotgun dudes were even helping me because I have so much protection from elites combined with having, again, Adrenaline Rush. Adrenaline Rush, they were basically activating my Adrenaline Rush constantly by keeping them on me. Basically meant I had Adrenaline Rush constantly going off to keep, buffing and regenerating my armor again. So I deliberately left some of those shotgunners alive till the very end because they constantly keep following you in close range because they kept my Adrenaline Rush going the entire time. So that was a funny thing I had to mention too. But yeah, I'm done finally.